offseason. Just what are your plans for the offseason and possibly playing or just doing individual workouts?
Yeah, I mean, probably take a little bit of a break here, just for maybe a week. I don't really want to lose a ton of the stuff I've worked on, and just trying to get my body back to full health.
When a sports savior decides she no longer wants to be sacrificed on national broadcast, what happens? Fans marveled for months as the most captivating player in contemporary basketball history broke decades old. Attendance records brought an entire league out of total obscurity and brought in billions of dollars. For network executives, all while putting up with a degree of unrelenting animosity that would shatter even the most seasoned veteran. Everyone anticipated that the rookie sensation would just smile for the cameras, make her incredible logo threes, and accept the harsh, unsaid truths of professional basketball with grace. This expectation ranged from casual watchers to ardent commentators. They believed that Caitlin Clark would silently bear the enormous weight of the Indiana Fever and a league establishment that seemed to deliberately detest her entire existence, behaving like a flawlessly submissive soldier, while the veterans made their barely concealed jabs at her in the media and on the court. Sports networks promoted the mainstream story that everything was okay, that the risky move was only a customary rite of passage, and that she was grinning and contentedly adapting to her new life in the professional ranks. However, the narrative was not just that made-up fairy tale, and everyone would be shocked to learn what was really going on behind closed doors. The moment she left the stage at the WNBA draft, the bullseye was painted on her back, gleaming with the extraordinary potential of permanently changing a financially troubled sport. If you appreciate this content, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 83% of viewers haven't subscribed yet. It's free and only takes a second, but it means the world to you. SO. Did you subscribe already? Great. Thank you so much for your support. Now, back to the video. Rather than a welcome committee appreciative of the enormous amount of money and attention, she encountered a scary maze of animosity, small-time rivalries, and outright risky play that made every game seem far more like a combat sport than a professional basketball game. IT was not only fierce, hard-nosed defense that opponents were attempting. While the referees magically swallowed their whistles repeatedly, they were sending violent personal signals, purposefully throwing heavy shoulders, hip-checking her violently to the floor, and making cheap shots. It was a comprehensive display of subpar calling, with commentators dismissing deliberate violence as just veteran initiation and frequently downgrading obvious infractions. Players who had worked their whole lives in peaceful, half-empty stadiums were now performing in front of boisterous, fully sold-out audiences. And they chose to vent their long-standing anger on Caitlin Clark rather than expressing gratitude to the rookie who was responsible for that amazing event. And you could see the unmistakable tiredness in her eyes as she got off the ground night after night, searching all around for a devoted comrade to come to her aid. But all she found was stillness and empty space. In order to increase engagement, the league was more than delighted to include Clark's image on every billboard, promotional item, and social media post. However, they purposefully chose to ignore the need to safeguard their most valuable asset from physical injury and a huge, unprecedented internal breakdown that no one in the media anticipated was made possible by this deafening quiet from the very individuals who were meant to support Clark. Fans and commentators were extremely perplexed by the Indiana Fever front office's astounding level of stupidity as they managed to grossly mishandle the greatest gift a sports team could ever get. When a team drafts a once-in-a-generation player who instantly makes them the league's most watched and talked about team, common sense dictates that management must immediately erect a defensive wall around her. Clark, hiring seasoned, tough enforcers, and designing an offensive scheme that is ideal for her transcendent playmaking abilities. Rather than taking the obvious action, the Indiana Fever ruthlessly threw Clark to the wolves with a roster that was haphazardly assembled and fundamentally flawed, as well as a coaching staff that appeared to be strongly opposed to allowing her to play the fast-paced, high-scoring style of basketball. That initially made her a global icon. Press conferences swiftly turned into a bizarre masterclass in passive aggression, as the head coach frequently threw her superstar rookie under the bus, criticized her shot choices in front of eager reporters, and insisted that she follow a much slower, antiquated traditional game plan that totally neutralized her on-court magic. Millions of viewers found it utterly frustrating to witness a generational talent being forced into an unimaginative, mediocre system, basically taking a high-performance sports car engine and dumping it into a rusty, broken-down pickup truck while complaining that it was not towing the line properly. The floor had no designated protection at all. The young novice was totally alone to fight her own terrible battles, both psychologically and physically, since there was no tough veteran eager to confront an opponent who had just given a nasty punch. There was more to this startling absence of institutional support than merely carelessness. It was almost like intentional professional sabotage, creating a poisonous atmosphere on the court and in the locker room that was quickly eroding her passion for the game. However, the obvious contempt on a national and worldwide level was likely to worsen tremendously if the local situation in Indiana was a complete catastrophe. The whole sports world gasped in complete shock when the Indiana Fever's much-awaited basketball lineup was finally revealed. The world's most well-known and watched female athlete was mysteriously absent from the esteemed list. The selection committee's formal justifications included anything from a purported lack of senior national team experience to nebulous, unverifiable chemistry issues. However, anybody who paid attention and had half a brain could see precisely what was happening behind the scenes, a famously cliquey institution that just did not want to share the enormous worldwide limelight with a young player who allegedly had not waited her turn in their antiquated, unwritten hierarchy, engaged in a premeditated, intentional, and very political freezing out, an attempt to appease an enraged audience. Coaches and committee members took to the media tour in an aggressive manner. However, the optics were utterly disastrous, revealing a pervasive envy and pettiness that went beyond simple basketball tactics. This widely reported, internationally talked about rejection was a huge, harsh wake-up call for the rookie superstar, shattering any remaining naive notions she may have had about justice, pure meritocracy, or true devotion inside the women's basketball establishment. She gently declined to give the eager media the dramatic, irate soundbite they were hoping for, handling the big rejection with her customary, well-applauded public grace. The underlying message was, nevertheless, clearly understood in private. Playing their petty political games was a complete waste of her time if she could break every viewing record in television history, secure chartered flights for the entire league so players would not have to fly commercial, and successfully negotiate a massive new television rights deal without receiving even the slightest respect from the old guard. And this deep insight completely changed Caitlin Clark's perspective on her whole career, resulting in a completely different, merciless business approach. The sheer, indisputable insanity of the power dynamics at work was clearly highlighted by the financial realities of the whole scenario, which only served as explosive gasoline to a fire that was quickly blazing out of control. Clark was receiving a very limited rookie wage from the WNBA, which was so pitifully low that it actually became a running joke on national late-night television and big sports talk programs. In the larger sports world, this sum equated to utter pocket change. Tens of millions of dollars were being earned by her independently negotiated endorsement deals with international mega brands like Nike and Gatorade. As a result, she was completely financially independent of the very league that was simultaneously abusing her image and permitting her to be physically mistreated. She was not your average desperate newbie who barely made ends meet on a monthly salary. She was a living, talking business behemoth who was effectively supporting those who were deliberately working to undermine her and downplay